Hello, hello, hello. If you happen to be new, definitely feel free to hit that subscribe button and let's talk about part three of making a godlike Breath of the Wild. So, I was thinking about what all I could add into making the sequel. Now, last time I added in a ton of stuff to where it was almost an hour. I think what I'll try to do this time is I'll try to condense it. I won't be able to go into detail as much as I would like, but at least I'll just give you the general premise of what I want in the sequel as far as a story. As the castle of Hyrule rises into the sky and lifts off into the air, it ends up getting set right next to the Temple of Time, as it was in Ocarina of Time. That's one of the things. Or it could just stay in the air. But regardless, Calamity Ganon, turns out, was just a sub-boss, is how I would start this off. Now, this could end up leading into other timeline shenanigans, maybe a fourth timeline that leads to Breath of the Wild rather than like a Breath of the Wild 3. Like something like time travel is very iffy. It's a touchy subject. That's why Endgame was kind of confusing to people. That's why the Zelda timeline, even when it's explained to you, still is like, what? Like, it's still really confusing. But yeah, maybe some timeline stuff could be done. Like maybe in like the fourth timeline, Twilight gets reconnected with the light world via the mirror, the same one on the Breath of the Wild, like I think Laurelin Beach. Like another one was made for it, likely the one that looked like the one in the Spirit Temple in Ocarina of Time. Maybe the Twilight Return, which would be something that I would add in as far as like a premise for the Breath of the Wild 2. When they say help seal away Ganon in that Gerudo script, I think that was Gerudo. Because I already think that Gerudo may have a connection to the Twilight, because I don't know, maybe it's just because Midna and the Gerudo look, they have more of like a Middle Eastern / African American person kind of, like they have that bone structure. So just that alone makes me feel like they have some kind of connection. I could be completely wrong. It may be completely off base, but it's a little too familiar for me. But what we could do is this. Maybe you could have the Twilight, like I said, reconnected with the light mirror, or at least with the light world via the mirror, or it could be a time travel thing. I'm not entirely sure where I kind of want to use time travel. I'm just not sure where I want to place it. Do I want to put it in a Breath of the Wild 3, or do I want to put it in Breath of the Wild 2? I'm not entirely sure. Probably put it in. You know what? I think I'll put it in as far as 3. But yeah, whenever time travel is done, it can either go back 100 years or it could go back 10,000 years. Now, granted, that 10,000 could be a translation issue with the Japanese versus English as far as that line of 10,000 years. So we'll just put a pin in that. But the general plot is we leave off with the bopping of Calamity Ganon. And Zelda and Link and the rest of the races are rebuilding Hyrule after Calamity Ganon's defeat, which is, as far as Breath of the Wild 2 is concerned, that's present day. Zelda and Link are informed of or find out a way to undo all of the pain and suffering caused by Calamity Ganon of that general thing 100 years ago, 10,000 years ago, all that stuff, just to end it once and for all. Because of this knowledge, they go and search the ruins, the ones you see in the trailer, specifically for the key of reversing the pain caused by Ganon. Now, this could be Ganon leading them there through another figure, like maybe you have like a Girahim kind of thing going, or maybe there's a voice in Zelda's head that tells her she should do this. She thinks it's a good voice, but in reality, it's Ganon. I mean, there's multiple ways that you could go about getting them there, but I would definitely go out of my way to make it a very interesting way. They discover Ganon's location, as you can see in the trailer, because he's sending like faint messages or something is probably how I would do it. They end up searching underground area and they find various things about the Zonai Underground, which is, again, it's highlighted in that trailer. Now, Link gains the power seen in the trailer. That has to happen at some point, and I'm not sure exactly what those powers would be. Could set those for time travel, or you could not. I'm not sure. As they go underground and as they explore, eventually a big cataclysm, a big earthquake happens, whether it's caused by Ganon himself, which likely of course it probably will be, or whatever they trigger, it causes all these creatures to be released out into the overworld, and including access to underneath Hyrule and underneath the waves, underneath the rivers, underneath the ocean, like adding a second layer to Hyrule. Now, two things has happened just now because of the simple cataclysm. You now have an altered overworld. So now you know these places, but they're completely different, more or less. A lot of places will be complete. I mean, you got to merit a reason for a $60 sequel. So it's going to be a good amount of different. And you've got access to underground now, showing a completely new world underground. I mean, you could do like a lot of stuff with underground. Don't make it too claustrophobic. You can make it to where the roof of underground, depending how far down they go, because nobody's really seen under Hyrule. You've been like little pockets under Hyrule, but not that much. But you've gone really far underground, and it's so deep and it's so cavernous in a lot of places that it seems like there should be a sky above you, and maybe there is a sky above them in it. Like, I mean, it's a mystical world. You can pretty much do anything there. I'm still for a Dark Realm, which would actually be even cooler. It would be so massive if you had a setup like that. You have an altered overworld, you have an underground, including the waterways, and you've got a Dark Realm. That would be saucy, boy. That's a game you could play for years and years and years and years. You got the assets, just repeat them and alter them and put them in a bunch of different ways. So it shouldn't take nowhere near as long. Using the same assets, it really shouldn't be a problem at all. At least that's how I see it. But the enemies pour out of the ground now, so that gives you an excuse to have the same place, but all sorts of new creatures and beings that are free from it. Now, does this explain the creature that you see in the trailer? It's possible, because maybe they've already come down here before, and that was one of the creatures free. Now, not every creature from underground has to be a monster. That's not the case. It can be some good creatures that come from underground too. Not everything is evil underground, so that could be part of it as well. But you know what? That could actually be a good explanation for why there's so few enemies in the overworld in the original Breath of the Wild. Because along with Ganon, a lot of the various enemies, I like that. I shit you not, I like this a lot. A lot of the enemies that they would have faced or did face before, or at least maybe the hero of 10,000 years ago, quote unquote, they were sealed underground. Now, other creatures can make their way underground and live in harmony with them, or, you know, however that works out. But that would be a great explanation for the few enemy types that are in Breath of the Wild, because a lot of the other enemies are sealed underground. Bet that works. So maybe we could have like a plot twist in there for whether they time travel or whatever the case may be, but I think that works for that. We'll leave that there. And you know what's great about that too? Let's bring our boys, the Redeads, back. Let's bring them back into the fold, man. I need my cheeks to clench like never before, taking me down memory lane to where I was too terrified to finish a dungeon because Redeads were in the way. Those things freaked me right the out. Do you hear me? I need them back. And considering the fact that, again, it's supposed to be darker than Majora's Mask, I always have to emphasize that Redeads are deceased individuals. Let's make no bones about that. No pun intended, by the way. Sharing similar processes that, sharing similar processes that the Sheikah monks went through to make a connection with that. You know what? Because I know Nintendo tried to change up that whole, Redeads are just animated clay or whatever. Nah, dawg, that's individuals. And I say this because the monks look just like Redeads. Now, granted, anything that's malnourished for X amount of time, of course, are going to look the same. But, I mean, come on. They're basically mummified. Like, even Redeads in the original Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, like, dude, like, they would crouch down. Like, when nobody's around, they would, or at least they can't sense anybody, they would crouch down into a fetal position. And that's one thing that characters that, like, or at least if you've studied any kind of mental issues or whatever, it signifies the desire for comfort, for that feeling of being inside your mom's womb. And that's the closest thing that they could get to that whole comfort of being human again, because this is all they know is darkness and chasing after whatever in the dark, if anything comes near. Like, that's part of what they've signed up to do, and they may have agreed to it. Some of them may have not agreed to it, but this is what they are now. So I feel like the monks are much more powerful versions. You know, when you're enlightened, you're a more powerful version of yourself. So they're not as bad. They're nothing like just the general Redeads, but essentially, physically, they're the same. They're powerful Redeads, pretty much. And I think that would be that'd be a dope ass revelation for Breath of the Wild too, is that Redeads are people. Just like the monks. The monks are essentially Redeads. When you took their life force, they faded away. Like, they're Redeads. Like, just what it is. When you kill a Redead, they just disappear. They just lay there for a bit, and then they just disappear. They don't poof and smoke. Well, I think the ones in Wind Waker did. But the original Redeads, like the OG Redeads, they would just fall over, and they would just lay there. And I think they originally would disappear. Maybe that's the 3DS version. I don't know. But yeah, when you take the life essence from them, they disappear. It's no kind of dramatic boom or poof or anything. They just disappear. So Redeads make their dramatic, freakish, oh my god, terrifying return. And I think Darker Than Majora's Mask, I think we really should stick with some people were they forced to be a Redead, or did they do like monks? Did they decide that they were going to do like the ones in Ocarina of Time, which is guard the royal family tomb? So some signed up, some didn't. I don't know. You know, you got that Here Lies Hyrule's bloody history of greed and hatred. So it's very possible that there were some very unwitting participants that took place in this. Oh man, we're getting really kind of, I like it. And it also kind of makes me skeeve a little bit. But speaking of, I think with some of the revelations that could happen that would really make the story more fascinating to the regular people, because there's a lot of people that really weren't into Zelda before that have gotten into Zelda thanks to Breath of the Wild. Let's take them boys and girls on a ride, boy. Let's take them on a trip. Let's let Zelda find out that the royal family's history is that of not just esteem, good guys versus bad guys. We're stopping Ganondorf. Like, she finds out the history that the royal family has taken part in, which is that of torture, hatred, and bloodshed. And it could be too much for her to find out. Maybe that's why Zelda cuts her hair that you see in the trailer. Think about that, because from my understanding with Japanese culture, whenever a female cuts her hair or somebody cuts their hair, it's supposed to signify a heavy change. And I think finding out that your family's history is not the prestigious one that you would think, but more so of like really dark, really vile, terrible things that have been done, it'll probably do some things to you. So she can find out like how other races were treated by the royal family, including the Gerudo, how they did them dirty, like keeping the Gerudo out into the like these dusty, sandy lands, because Ganon wasn't happy with that. Like, if you take Wind Waker Ganon, like, he was like, you know, I coveted those winds of Hyrule that like with these green, lush, vibrant pastures, like this amazing place. And where Ganon and his people lived at, it was a harsh desert filled with death and despair. Like, it was just hard on them, and it kind of makes them sympathetic, doesn't it? It's just, you know, you think that Hyrule is the good and everything else is bad, more or less, if it opposes them. And I don't want that to be the case. And I think that would be a fantastic thing to really dissect and discover in Breath of the Wild too. And then, of course, you have like a massive epic war spanning like a great part of the game. I could push this to the sequel, maybe like Breath of the Wild 3. But with the cataclysm that Ganondorf calls, it's got to be some big battles. It's got to be some massive battles. And it can't just be Link fighting ththese battles. It's got to be hands on deck everywhere. Like in the original Breath of the Wild, you had other people fight, like just the same NPCs fighting bokoblins every now and then at different locations. But I need it to be like battles, like at some point, like battles in a lot of places. I want, just like in Guards and Skyrim, I want them to actually be attacking villages and the guards take care of them. Like, the guards just bring out a beat down on them, or whatever the case may be. Or maybe it may be a part where the guards start losing, you have to come save them, and like, just that would be really cool. It'd be so, and it goes back to my original point that I made in the previous videos, is I needed to feel like the player's choices matter, and I think that would help make the choices matter. My personal hope for the story is that the royal family seal Ganondorf in a fit of paranoia. So he's not even evil just yet, like the prophecy states, or how Demise's curse works. But because they've had to deal with this time and time again, they don't even wait for him to be evil. They just seal him beforehand. Just like, I don't have time for this. Just done. You're sealed. Who cares? You're sealed. And then wanting to prevent the prophecy. So they have good intentions, but you know how it is with the road to hell. It's paved with good intentions. So this ends up causing that. They grab Ganondorf, they seal him, leaving him to fester in his hatred, because he's like, why did they do this? Because Ganon he himself doesn't really, as far as I know, understand that, oh, Demise is in me. This is the result of Demise's curse. Ganon is, as far as he knows, Ganondorf is his own person. He doesn't really know this, but he's like, what did I do? Why am I sealed? Why did you do this to me? Like, why? And people probably don't tell him, or because it's probably too painful to tell them. It's like, oh, you're evil without you being evil and realizing it. We're going to like it. Because can you imagine that? You're minding your own business. You're already, out in the desert. You already may be suffering, like the Ganon in Wind Waker, or Ganondorf in Wind Waker may already be suffering. And then these random people, these strange people come and take you away, and you haven't even done anything. They just take you up. They lock you up. They prepare to seal you. And it's like, why? What did I do? I didn't do anything. My crime, as far as this point in time, even if it's prophesized, at this point in time, my crime is just existing. Now imagine what that would do to your psyche if you were just taken away for no reason. You done nothing, which, be surprised in part of the world that this actually happens, what that would do to you. Like, that's mentally scarring. It's like your crime is just existing. That's messed up. And this, add this on top of that, and they literally create, he probably would have became this way regardless, but he doesn't have a choice. Not giving a person a choice is another thing that could screw up people. But they end up creating the monster that they feared. That very monster, they create him, and condemning an innocent man to be, reviled as like just a monster. Like, it's messed up. It hits. All this happens, and Zelda finds this out, and it's like, oh my God, like this is insanity. And that could be a reason that she goes down there. It could be a reason. Now it could still be the reason that he's whispering out to her or something like that. The curse, whatever. It could be that, or it could be out of sheer guilt that they go and visit Ganon's, where he's held at, just like, because it's terrible. Like, I couldn't live with that. As much as I love my family, if they did something like that to some innocent man, even though it was prophesized, I don't know how I would handle that. Like, it's like, damn, boy. Like, what do you say to that? Let me know in the comments down below what you would do with that kind of situation. I'm actually legitimately curious. But, thing hits the fan, all these battles happen, all these monsters and stuff get released out into the world. Link and Zelda have to do their thing to fix, what they've done, because they've essentially released the rage that is Ganondorf and what, Zelda's family did to him, even if they at one point in time were wrong to do, and at a different point in time they'd be right to do, which is when he actually acted, or, that Demise curse actually acted. Final battle. I think what we would do is, I kind of wanted to end on a down note, to where a lot of bad things happened, a lot of messed up things happened, and Zelda and Link narrowly escaped with their lives. I think that would be a great start. And that will be my initial story for Breath of the Wild 2. Now, there's a bunch of other things that I could add in, like solving all the different mysteries and tying that into the other parts of the story. Like, I have a lot of ideas, adding maybe some undiscovered races, some races that were hidden from plain sight in Breath of the Wild. A lot of different things, like location expansion, new side characters, new gigs, a bunch of different things. Some things that Zelda and Link and Ganon could end up going through, but I don't want it to go too long. Like I said, I want each of the characters, especially Link and Zelda, I want them to have inner conflict and just conflict in general. Like I said, we're finding out how crappy your family is will be good conflict for Zelda, and just dealing, and then dealing with the Yiga clan. The Yiga clan is still there. Maybe they have like a competent leader show up out of the shadows and start leading them. It's a bunch of other things that I could add into Breath of the, and again, I could do this in another part, like another part of the story, just adding in different elements of the story and building it out. But at this point, because my explanations run so long trying to explain all this lore that I'm fabricating, I'm really just making stuff up for the most part. It takes a while to do, and not everybody has all day to listen to me, so I'll probably just stop there. If it's requested, I will kind of add on to this Breath of the Wild 2 sequel that I have. One of the biggest things that I want solved is the Zonai connection. Like, before I go, first and foremost, I want the Zonai connection to be found out. I want that to be resolved, no question. There's a lot of different ways that this could be done. I want that to be done. It could be the Twilight are involved somehow. I'm really thinking that could be the case for it, like just with all the clues involved, with how Ganondorf is involved, because I'm under the impression that the Ganon from quote-unquote 10,000 years ago is the same Ganon from Twilight Princess. And I think Aonuma even mentioned you probably want to replay Twilight Princess to get an idea for Breath of the Wild 2. I mean, good lord, if the incisors in Ganondorf's mouth and the crest on his head and the arm that's reaching into his chest, just all those different things, the way the Zonai patterns are versus the Twilight's patterns, like their arm and body patterns, if that didn't speak to you as far as there being a connection, I really don't know what else would. I think the Twilight, the Zonai, the Gerudo, and the Sheikah could all have that particular connection, which would be with the Twilight Realm. I will save that for, like I said, another video if other people are suggesting it, but I'll try to keep it to a minimum now. If you like my premise for Breath of the Wild 2, including the Zonai, Zelda finding out how things really are with their family, and the accidental release of Ganondorf, and all the bad things that happen as a result of it while they're trying to rebuild Hyrule in a massive way. If you like all that stuff, definitely feel free to hit that subscribe button, like, share wherever you share things. If you're in a Zelda community and you think this is worth a damn, feel free to share it with them. I would like more people thinking about this, but I can't do anything if it's by myself, really, but I'll do what I can. But yeah, if you like it, definitely feel free to like it. Subscribe if you like this kind of stuff. Patreon would definitely help out. I really would love to make more stuff like this, but support definitely goes a long way, but I don't want your last dollar. I know it's tough out there. If you can support the channel and you want to, definitely feel free to hit up my Patreon. You helping out is greatly appreciated. I just have to ask you all these things because because YouTube really could give a dog fart about me or anything that I do. Without your help, I'm just gonna be real, I'm nothing. I'm nobody. That's just what it is. So your help is greatly appreciated, and if you can't help, hey, just liking and commenting and sharing and subscribing, that's easily enough for me. That's the very least I can ask of you. So thank you. But if you do have some extra cash, definitely feel free to hit the store, Threadiverse.com. Some fantastic apparel there. Feel free to treat yourself, or maybe you got somebody that's got a birthday or something coming up. You can get them like a nice geeky kind of video game anime inspired shirt or something like that, maybe comic book inspired, whatever you like. And I'm pretty sure they'll appreciate it. There's some fantastic artists that have made these designs, so definitely feel free to check out the store. Thank you for sitting through my shilling, and I hope you all have a fantastic day. Stay safe, stay warm, keep those hands clean, stay away from other people. Do your best to take care of yourself, man, because it gets really rough out there, and I really wish I could do more for you all. But anyways, take care of people. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.